All right, about to get started here, talking Thursday night baseball. Shorter slate because we've got we had some bunch of afternoon games going. Quietly lamenting, quietly lamenting the demise of the of the Johnny Cueto win, but it happens. As I'm watching that off to my side, I'm just going to get these links going for people to be able to jump in here, and then I'll start talking some baseball. All right, so sorry, get going here. So I was saying a second ago, I was lamenting the Johnny Cueto win when Melanson blew the win for Cueto on the early slate. So not like total tilt town on that one, but it's just annoying to blow a 2-run lead when it's just annoying to blow a 2-run lead to kill the win because Cueto didn't end up being as chalky on FanDuel as I thought he was going to be. So having losing that win probably cost a little bit. Definitely cost a little bit in terms of cashing. But alas, we move on to the evening slate. So today's set of games, the evening slate, it's pretty. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry to be honest with you. I mean, I think we talked about it on the podcast today. I think McCullers ends up being pretty complete chalk on FanDuel. 11-2 is a lot to pay for him. I don't think you'll see him in like that total ace, sale at a 12,000 kind of range where he's like 85% starter or anything like that. I think people can probably talk themselves a little into Odorizzi here. And I think pairing McCullers and Odorizzi on DraftKings is definitely going to be the chalk over there. So I don't think there's too much in the way of thought that you need to put in to starting pitcher. McCullers has been excellent this year, right? So he cured his major issue, which was walks. He was walking the ballpark last year. He had 81 innings last year, 5 walks per 9. That's a terrible number, really, for anybody. He was able to get away with it, mostly because everything else was a strikeout for him, so close to 12 strikeouts per 9. But this year, he's sacrificed a few of the strikeouts, 10.5 per 9, to get to really reduce the walks almost in half. And he's about as good a pitcher as there's been in the majors right now. 2.68 xFIP is pretty damn elite. He's a big favorite here tonight against a Royals team who really can't hit at all. So I don't think I'm not like making any news here by labeling McCullers as the chalk play. I think that's pretty obvious. I think you'll see it. I think, like I said, maybe a 70% start, something like that on FanDuel would make sense to me. I'd be surprised if it was a lot higher than that, just because I think there are enough other arms. Like you can maybe see people talk themselves into Odorizzi. Maybe someone talks themselves into Lester, though I wouldn't. Pineda and Price are at least interesting, though I don't think you see people go there. And I think some people can talk themselves into Garrett Cole, too. So I don't think you see McCullers' ownership in that total disgusting what's going on here. Now we're just rooting for our bats kind of territory, but I do think you see him as the most popular play. And on DraftKings, I think it's going to be all McCullers and Odorizzi too. Odorizzi is just too cheap. Now, he is not very good. Let me take that back. He's not terrible. He's just a very average pitcher, lucky enough tonight to be going in a great ballpark against a White Sox team that ranks about as bad. Well, no, it ranks near the bottom of the league in terms of hitting right-handed pitching this season. So the fact that you don't really need to pay it that much for him, he's only, let me look real quick, he's 7,900, so sub 8,000. He doesn't strike a lot of guys out, like 7.5 per 9. He walks a few. He's just like he's an average pitcher. He's no reason he's like when Tanner Rourke takes the mound, guys like that. You don't really get excited about playing them often, but you'll take them in spots where they have a clear advantage, and this is one of those. Odorizzi is a fly ball pitcher that helps him in Tampa Bay. Where that park sucks up a lot of power. So I think you see him. I think you see him as a pretty much a chalk play. Other guys that I can get behind, I can actually get behind Pineda tonight. Our system really likes Pineda actually, and I get why. He's very much a feast or famine kind of play. He has elite strikeout numbers. He's sort of figured out some of the issues. Well, really, he didn't really have to figure out much. He is running, still a little bit bad with the home runs, but he's walking less guys. He is striking out a few less than last year. 3.37 xFIP. He's a very good pitcher that has a tendency to get blown up at times, and he's known for that, and it probably is just a real thing. So, but I do like the idea of throwing Pineda into a tournament here, especially on a McCullers fade where I can pay up for some more bats. Or even pair him with McCullers and kind of fade Odorizzi, because I think Odorizzi doesn't have necessarily the highest ceiling in the world, but I will be playing a little bit of Pineda on DraftKings tonight in starting pitcher 2 slot, with the understanding that he definitely it can go really, really bad for him, especially if you can sneak some balls over the short porch and right. He's a slight favorite against Price. I was a little surprised by that, just because. If anything, this screamed to me as like sort of a pick'em game with Price, but Vegas doesn't really see it that way. They have Pineda as a slight favorite, with the Red Sox coming in on one of their lower run lines that you're going to see for the Red Sox tonight, and their sub 4 run line for them in Yankee Stadium is interesting. Now the Red Sox they really don't have a lot of lefty power in their lineup. Benintendi's there, Mitch Moreland is there. Jackie Bradley to some degree, but the lineup really isn't all that robust. Betts clearly is a star. Benintendi likely is going to end up figuring into that conversation. I think he's enough of a prospect. Bogarts has had his issues. Moreland is sort of a journeyman first baseman, and then you get Hanley Ramirez, Bradley, Rutledge. The bottom of the lineup starts looking really bad actually. Rutledge, Sandoval, and Christian Vasquez. So I actually do think that there's a case to be made for Pineda. I would not do it in cash by any means, just because I just don't think you need to. But someone just called me Jason, Big Baller Brand, in the chat just called me Jason Statham. I don't know if I've said that before, but I have gotten that before by an independent person, like people that didn't know me. I was standing in line taking my kid to see Santa Claus like 3 years ago, and someone stopped me and said, "You look like Jason Statham." I said, "Goddamn right I do." So no, I was that's only the shaved head part. None of the physique really matches up with Statham. So anyway, about Pineda, that's my case for Pineda in terms of tournaments. I think that he has some strikeout upside against this Red Sox lineup. I think Vegas is probably starting to figure out a little bit that the Red Sox are just not your older brother's Red Sox, I guess would be the best way to put it. The Red Sox of even just last year or a few years ago. Losing Ortiz has hurt them there. Pedroia's out of the lineup. So this team, just like I said, bottom of that lineup is really just not all that good. So I do like Pineda for some upside. Lester is another guy we talked about on the podcast today. He's struggled this season. He ran super hot last year, and that running hot is kind of over for him now. He's walking a lot of guys. The strikeout numbers are a little bit down. Personally, I'm fine avoiding him. Colorado away from home, they're not all that good. A little bit more of their pop comes from the lefty side of the plate with Blackman and Gonzalez, although they have LeMahieu and Arenado at the top of the lineup. So I don't think this is a place I'm going to with Lester. I just don't see it yielding huge dividends, just because I just don't think he's too expensive. I know I'm stumbling over that. He's just too expensive for what he offers. I think his price is a little bit born on name, and that is basically it. I'm still tilted that this Giants-Brewers game is still going on. It was like the worst possible scenario for this game to go extra innings. It was just either lose the game at the end of it or win it or just have it end. But having it go to extra innings is pretty brutal. In terms of bats tonight, there are a few teams that are in really, really good spots, I think. Our system is favoring, the 3 teams that it's favoring just in terms of guys that are coming in top lineups, it's pretty obvious. It's Houston, a huge run line, Washington, nice run line against Alec Asher, and some Cubs guys. So I think that a mix of those teams is just completely reasonable. They have the highest run lines. You're not totally having to pay out for your pitching tonight. I mean, I know McCullers is not. I mean, I was gonna say McCullers is only 9,700 on FanDuel, so it's not even like you need to take. It's not like you even need to take a huge hit on your pitching over there for him. So I think you're able to just load up on bats. Like I said, Houston guys are. I do like Houston here against Hamill. Good ballpark. Hamill's been pretty garbage. I think you see people play the Rays a little bit against the lefty in Tampa Bay against Holland. Holland's been really, really bad this season. The problem with the Rays, as opposed to the other teams in terms of safety, is just like I said, it's really was the case for Odorizzi, is that the park just eats up so much of the power that it's hard to really go completely parabolic on the runs in Tampa Bay, just because it's just not a home run heaven kind of place. Longoria is pretty cheap. Souza is coming at a nice price. I think you can make cases for those guys in stacks. I'm not sure I'm going to be doing it for cash games, mostly because I think the system really likes Chris Bryant here or against Chatwood. I think I'm fine with it for 4,200. If Longoria was like sub 3,000, I think we'd be making a better case for him, but getting him into that 3,200 range, not like I'm off him. He still ranks pretty high in terms of, at least on FanDuel, he is the fourth highest points per dollar play on the slate, which is pretty good for his price. But Bryant, at least for us, ranks just a little bit higher, even in points per dollar at the elevated price. So I think I'm fine sticking with him there. And then guys like Rizzo, Zobrist, Happ, if you were going to go some more Cubs guys, the top of that lineup looks pretty good. I know I was talking about the Rays. I kind of got sidetracked here. But there's just a lot of different ways to go with stacks tonight. And that's going to make it a pretty I think it is going to make it a pretty interesting night, considering that you have some, like I said, some just not good pitchers. Kyle Gibson, I didn't even mention Seattle, but Kyle Gibson's is never really been good. Alec Asher, no thanks. Hamill is bad. You get Derek Holland, and then R.A. Dickey. R.A. Dickey's numbers are an absolute horror show this season. I'm going to pull him back up here, but I wasn't really totally aware of how bad he had been this season, and I know this is the Phillies, and I know people like to pick on the Phillies in terms because they themselves are not very good. But man, Dickey, holy moly, his numbers this season are he's striking out 4.41 batters per nine. That is really bad. Like that's Ty Block was the guy we were kind of picking on last night for not being able to strike anybody out. This is a little better than Block, but not that much. But but Dickey, his bigger problem, he's walking more guys than he's striking out. 4.68 walks per nine through 65 innings. If you walk more guys than you strike out, I mean, that's like little league time. It's actually time for you to just like probably not be in the majors anymore, unfortunately. 5.67 ERA, and he's not even like he's running bad. Like you can't even point to like BABIP issues or strand rates or anything like that. It's just he's just been a really bad pitcher, and this is where the rubber meets the road on what you think about a team in the Phillies against a pitcher that's bad. So in this case, I probably would be fine slotting in some Phillies here or there just to kind of get some exposure. Fully stacking them, you can do it. You can go like Herrera and Altherr and Tommy Joseph near the top of the lineup. All of them do have some pop in their bat, so it's not a bad spot. You kind of just don't need to. Like I think if you do that, you end up leaving a little bit of money on the table with the tournament lineup, just because I think that. Yeah, I totally lost my train of thought because this freaking Giants game, they're pouring on runs. Sorry, this is the problem with doing live streams when you're watching a game. I should probably just turn the game off. But no, you leave a little bit of money on the table with Philly just because they're coming a little cheaper, and you kind of just, like I said before, you don't need to save on bats. So interesting slate all around. I think that I'm going to be, just to recap here, I'm going to be going McCullers and Odorizzi on DraftKings. McCullers on FanDuel, stacking Pineda with McCullers at times on DraftKings tournaments just because I like that spot. And let me just real quick before I get out of here, I'll kind of read off who some of the best points per dollar teams in our system are tonight. So I know the Cubs are really high up there. They might be the highest on FanDuel. I'm just going to click that open real quick. Cubs rank really, really highly on FanDuel. Arizona, they already played. Washington is up there as well. Atlanta and Houston for raw points is the highest that we have as a team, but you're not getting a huge discount on those. So yeah, just to recap, Cubs on FanDuel, the Cubs and Nationals are tied, 3.64 FanDuel fantasy points per dollar. So you like that, and then there's kind of a drop off to Philly. But so if you want to do like Cubs and Philly, Washington and Philly, and then Atlanta's right below them. So like if you kind of just there's a bunch of different cross stacks you can do there to sort of save some bucks because Atlanta is a little bit cheaper. Those are the highest. Those are the teams that we have ranked the highest on FanDuel. Philly actually is the highest DraftKings points per dollar team, with the Cubs right below them. So nice spot for the Phillies there. And actually, the savings does matter a little bit more on DraftKings because McCullers is significantly more expensive there. So I think I'm going to be stacking them. I'll be stacking Philly more on DraftKings for the price, and the Cubs right below them, and then Washington just below them, and then there's kind of a drop off when we get down to Houston. All right, I think I'm going to jump out of here, start putting some Thursday lineups in, a little shorter live stream today, but that's okay. We're still kind of experimenting with this format. One thing, if you're still listening right now, we have a new sponsor. These guys are great. It's In-Game Fantasy. They used to be called Fanamana, but now they've kind of switched over to In-Game. I'll be posting it in chat. If you go and download the In-Game Fantasy app in the App Store, or it's available on Android too, and then use the promo code DFSR, you will get $5 to play with on In-Game Fantasy. It's a really cool format. It's basically live. You play live. You pick batters in the moment that you want to hit for your team, and you're basically kind of putting together a batting lineup of your team as the game goes. So it's really engaging. In terms of live baseball, it's really, really engaging. I've been playing around with it all day today, and really, really like the format. So In-Game Fantasy, use the promo code DFSR, and that'll get you $5 to start yourself off playing with. All right, guys, I'll be in the chat room answering any questions, and I'm going to jump out of here. Good luck with Thursday.